Hey everybody, my name is Manny, welcome to Let's Cats, and today we're playing
Asagao Academy, Normal Boots Club.
Thank you for introducing me. For those who don't know what this game is a dating sim where you date YouTubers. And I think that's hilarious. So, this is, as you can tell from Normal Boots Club, it's the members of Normal Boots. It's made by this person named Cara, and I've been listening to her podcast with Jimmy Wetzel and Todd from Rated S Games, and it's a really good podcast. It's like my favorite podcast right now. So I'm gonna leave a link so you can check out their podcast because I love it, and you should probably listen to it too because it's good. But I'm excited about this game. I've been waiting for this game. The train made its way along the gentle curve of the coast of Japan, whisking me farther and farther from home. Across from me sat a boy, face half buried in a newspaper. He was deeply entranced in whatever article he was reading and hadn't spoken a single word to me, even when I asked if I could join him in the last compartment with any available space. He shrugged, nodded, and adjusted his newspaper without ever making eye contact. It had been almost an hour. In fact, he hadn't even once looked at me. Devoid of any conversation, I took instead to counting the buttons on the pretentiously lush carmine seats cushions. 1, 2, 3, 21, 22, so forth, over and over. Now and again, I turned to look out the window and see where the trees were blurring by. Sometimes the smeared green would break and reveal the quiet blue sea of Japan. Eventually, this rapidity made my stomach churn, and I went back to counting the buttons on the seat cushions. 1, 2, 3. Train compartment shuddered around us. My eyes wandered to the boy in his jacket. It wasn't the schoolish blue that I and the other students on the train were wearing. Instead, it was a green varsity-like jacket with an embroidered patch poorly sewn on front. So you're a first year then? He folded his newspaper neatly, sat in his lap, and looked at me with a half-interested gaze. Did he just catch me staring? Now that the paper was gone, I saw his face. He watched me through heavy-lidded eyes. His hair was immaculately groomed, his teeth straight and blindingly bright. There was something about him, the way the light hit him, that made him look like he was almost sparkling. Me? He glanced around the compartment empty beside us and laughed. No, I'm not a first year, I'm a third year. Train began to slow, metal wheels groaning against the metal tracks. The sudden shift threatened to rob me of whatever was left in my stomach, but I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, willing myself to keep it together. What kind of impression would I leave, puking on a student before I even arrived at the academy? The boy frowned. I picked at the hem of my cotton skirt. It's not possible. I've never seen you before. Oh my god, do I need to make... What does Pro Jared even sound like? Well, we'll figure that out, I guess. I'll get into the roles. It took me a moment of mouth fishing to find a response. It's because I'm a transfer student? He laughed again. A transfer student, huh? We don't get many of those. I removed my acceptance letter from the front pocket of my uniform. The paper, heavyweight, off-white, had accumulated creases from my reading and rereading, as the words might have changed since the last time I read it. The boy took it, studied it, and handed it back to me.
I'll see you around.
Well then, Hannah, I suppose I'll be seeing you around. Well, I guess it's really useful that he has a mild voiceover, huh? He smiled at me as he picked up the suitcase lying next to him. By the time I hiccuped a response, he was already gone from the compartment. Stared out into the empty hallway of the train. It was then that I realized he, having gotten my acceptance letter, knew my name and I never got his. The train settled at the station and I filed out with the rest of the uniformed students. It was early April, and the last frost of winter had come and gone. The trees were already green, their leaves shivering and the occasional gust weaving through them. The air was mild, only a few clouds hanging in the sky. I walked along the road with a swarm of blue jacket bodies, looking at little groups breaking off from the crowd. Everyone was buzzing so animatedly around me. I held my suitcase tight in my sweaty hands. It was leather-bound and worth more than anything it contained. It wasn't too far from the school, and I was, for maybe the first time in my life, thankful that what I owned didn't amount to much. My school-issued black Oxfords clicked on the pavement. I walked this walk over and over in my mind. So many nights I lay awake imagining what it would be like to walk from the train station to Asagao Academy for the first time. My new start. I always imagined that everything would change for me on this walk. That somehow, everything would be magically different. But as I looked around, I realized nothing had changed. I hadn't changed. By the time I reached the massive gate to the academy, I forgot all about the disappointment slouching in the back of my throat. The school, framed by the gate's twisting black metal, was just as beautiful as the glossy photos I saw in its pamphlets. This was it, Asagao Academy. I glanced around. The swarm of students gathered around the gate. Beyond it, tiny blue people bounced around the academy's main building. A girl pressed a button to the one side of the gate. The excitement in the air was almost palpable. A few moments later, the black gate, with great effort, creaked outwards and cleared a pathway. As the rest of the group shifted into motion, I followed along, a sheep in the herd. My stomach tied itself into knots. The crowd split off in different directions. For a moment, I panicked. A tired-looking man with graying hair called out for first years, a cluster of fresh-faced students gathering around him. Hey, look at that girl! I turned. A few feet away, a small group of boys were pointing at me and snickering. Pink hair? Are you kidding me? Oh, that was a posh boy. How desperate can you get? Hot shame crawled down my neck. I attached myself to a group of girls, following a few steps behind them. In the distance, cicadas hummed in time to my shoes crunching against the gravel. My hair... It wasn't my fault that my hair looked like this. Luckily, I found myself at the girls' dormitory, a large sign on the lawn reading Primrose House. The building dwarfed me in size and sheer intimidation. How many students did Asagao have? As I approached the building, a red-headed girl lingering nearby caught my attention. I looked away, then looked back. She was staring at me. She walked over.
Oh, you must be my roommate!
Well, I guess I didn't have to say that line. I eyed her warily. She was smiling and bouncing in a way that suggested her views on life were akin to a perpetual bouncy castle. Me?
Bingo.
Of course you are, silly. Let me guess, room 325? I thought back to the paper I received a month prior with a list of all the supplies I needed for the year and my dorm arrangements. Yeah, that's right. She laughed, but I couldn't figure out what was so funny. Was she laughing at me? When I found out my roommate was a transfer student, I knew you were going to be a total main character. I'm sorry? A what?
Mm-hmm.
When I saw you outside the gate, I knew it was you. I mean, look at that hair. I felt a lump forming in my throat. What was she talking about? She has to be making fun of me. I hadn't spent more than 5 minutes on campus, and I was already being mocked. My hands began to tremble, starting to talk like being nervous. Is something wrong with my hair? Her face slackened from its amused smile to a more worried expression. Then she began to laugh again.
Oh, no. It's great. I'm sorry.
I like that this game has like voice acting for certain lines.
We're getting off on the wrong foot, aren't we? Oh, gosh. I'm Mai Sasaki. You must be Hana.
She's just reading her lines. I bowed my head.
Hello.
It's nice to meet you, Mai. All your school books are waiting in our room with your welcome letter, and I read the envelope. I hope you're not mad. Mai started walking towards the dorm's front doors. I followed behind like a lost puppy. Did you check in at the front desk already? No, I didn't know I was supposed to. Good, they'll offer to have a staff member give you a tour of the campus, but I can show you around. We don't get that many transfer students in year 3, you know. Is that your only bag? Just the one? I'm glad I brought an extra bag of stuff to decorate our room with. I started already, I hope you don't mind. But I did wait to wait to string the lights. I thought we could do it together, you know? She spoke quickly, the words bubbling from her mouth. She left me no time to answer until the end of her... Oh, my bad. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Is this the log? She held the front door open for me and I hurried inside. Dear Diary, today is the day I finally go to Asagao. I couldn't sleep all night. When Dad dropped me off at the train station, he held my hand and stroked my hair. You look like your mother did, he said, but he didn't elaborate. I miss Mom, I miss Dad. Hopefully this will be my fresh start. Okay. Oh man, going to the dorm. Girls filed up and down the hallway, howling greetings and exchanging vague niceties that were more often than not, "How was your break?" and "Look out how tan you got." Niceties? Is that a word? I'm not familiar with that word. Okay. It seemed like everyone knew each other. I followed Maya as she led me through the maze of students and up 2 flights of stairs. Each dorm floor looked the same as the last. Narrow, white doors lining both sides of the pale pink walls. Thin gold numbers were tacked to the front of each, the numbers rising as we climbed. You're not missing anything with the campus tour, I promise. Mr. Saitomo does them every year and he's like totally dull. He just drags you around the entire campus and talks in that weird squeaky voice of his. I'll tell you everything you need to know. I smiled, trying to let this calm my nerves. Thanks. I don't know what voice I'm going to give Hana. I'm not used to any of these character voices yet. We headed down a hallway down to the 3rd floor. My stopped us in front of us, door number 325. Here we are. A faint smell of potpourri wafted through the room. The walls, like the hallway, were a soft, powdery pink. Maya ready to face them with tapestry of posters, magazine cutouts, and photographs. Obsession, Alvin Stein. Tortured souls. The only my guitar understands me world tour. I love Maya. Some of the photos were of cats, but most of them were male models and rugged musicians. A bunk bed, 2 writing desks with wooden chairs, a small dresser, a mirrored vanity, all clearly provided by the schools, were the only pieces of furniture in the tiny room. The top bunk was already covered in neatly tucked blankets and throw pillows of clashing patterns and colors. The bottom bunk had a single stiff-looking pillow and a thin cotton blanket that I didn't need to touch to know that was horribly itchy. I must have grimaced because Mike quickly smiled at me. I brought way too many pillows and blankets. I always overpack. I went to Italy over break and my mom got really mad at me because I brought 5 bags, but we were only there for a week. She laughed, pulling several blankets and pillows from her bunk, and rearranged them neatly on mine. A sudden twinge of guilt and embarrassment hit me.
Perfection.
There, that's much better. Thanks, Mai. I guess I have to be super shy and high-pitched for Hana. I placed my... Should I say Hana or Hana? It's Hana. She said my voice earlier and I don't remember if it was Hana or Hana. I placed my suitcase on the bottom bunk and began to unpack its contents. Several changes of clothing, pens and pencils, empty notebooks, a few photographs of my father, a dilapidated stuffed rabbit, an old portable radio, and a small black box. I'm sorry, an old portable radio? I opened the curtains and sunlight poured in. So, where are you from? I slid the now empty suitcase under the bottom bunk. About 2 hours north of here. It's a small town called Amaririsu. You probably haven't heard of it. I set the stuffed rabbit, Mr. Bunny, on my bed beside a purple and teal throw pillow. Oh, did you go to a different boarding school, or...? No, I went to a public school down the street from my house.
Really?
Public school? Public school? What was that like? Were the students mean? Did you have a lot of friends? I always went to private schools. My parents work a lot and my dad goes overseas, so I think they stuck me here for convenience. Oh hey, what's that? I removed an ornately patterned origami crane from the black box and was setting it on the unclaimed writing desk. Oh, this? My mother made it for me a long time ago. See? I set it beside a stack of thick textbooks, which I assume were provided for me.
Aww.
Wow, it's so pretty. I've never seen paper like that before. Oh yeah, the lights, let me get them. Mai went to her own desk, opened the drawer, and pulled out a long tangled string of fairy lights. I thought these would look nice. Here, help me string them up. She grabbed a container of pushpins and then pulled her wooden desk chair out over to one wall. I did the same with my own. Together we pinned the lights around the perimeter of the room. How was the train ride over? Did you meet anyone? No, not really. I was in a compartment with some guy and...
What?
Some guy, huh? Was he cute? Oh, yeah, I guess. I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't even get his name. Mai seemed disappointed for a moment, and then perked back up. You'll have to point me out to him if you see him again. Okay. Once we finished stringing the lights, Mai climbed down from her chair and brushed her hands together triumphantly. That's not her hair.
Yeah!
Done! Okay, now it's time for lunch. The food here is pretty good. There's this ramen place down the street from the campus that's like out of this world, but the school only lets us leave campus on weekends. Mai walked to the window. We'd go today because it's Sunday and it's pretty nice out, but I guess you might want to go to the caf since you just got here. We could... She was suddenly interrupted by her own enthusiastic laughter. Oh my gosh, Mimi Santos totally tripped outside and fell on her face. I saw it. Oh, is that mean to laugh? Maybe I shouldn't have. Oh well. Anyways, let's go eat. I'm totally starved. She led me out of the room before I even had the chance to respond. The cafeteria was buzzing with students excited for the new year. The only people as nervous looking as I felt were the tables of skittish wide-eyed first years. I stepped into the line behind Mai, taking an empty plastic tray. We shuffled through asking for help of the sulky cafeteria workers when we passed something that looked good. With full trays, Mai led me straight to the table in the back where a few students were already sitting. Mai sat down and I took a seat across from her. Hi Mai, how was your break? It was good. I went to Italy and Spain. Dad fell off of a ski jet and broke his ankle.
Uh-huh.
It's better now though. Oh, well, that's nice. I expected to be introduced, but the girl turned back to her group of friends and Mai turned back to me. She began to assault her food with a fork and tell me in practically minute-by-minute account her fleeting romance last summer and with a boy she met on the beach that didn't go any further than a few salty kisses. I sat back and let Mai talk. For the first time since arriving on campus, I felt like I was finally able to breathe. I picked up my Brussels sprouts and studied Mai as she spoke. The more she talked, the more I began to notice small details about her.
Well...
She had a high songbird voice.
What?
She was dynamic, her face twisting this way into exaggerated expressions as we spoke. She laughed often. She imitated people in wildly unflattering voices and seemingly unrelated to her actual opinion of them. But most notably, she talked. A lot. Didn't find this particularly annoying as it filled the silence and she hardly ever asked questions that required my full attention. Just as Mai was rounding off, a shockingly detailed account of the time she accidentally walked in on her friend's older brother on the act of changing, a flash of familiar green caught my eye. I glanced over. Hey, that's him! Huh? Who? I leaned across the table to whisper just in case if he could hear me through the ambient chatter of the lunchroom. The boy from the train, that's him.
What?
Jared? Yeah, with the weird green jacket and swoopy hair. He just picked up his tray and was walking past us when something seemed to catch his eye. Oh, you. I looked up at him, suddenly realized he was talking to me.
Hana.
Hana, I met you on the train. How are things settling down for you? Really well. I found my roommate and she's helping me out. I gestured to Mai, who was thunderstruck. In fact, looking around, everyone was. People stopped eating to turn and stare at Jared and me, my shoulders bunched up around my neck. Well, if you ever need any help, I'll be around. Third year, right? I nodded.
All right.
Some of my friends are in that year. Of course, they can't compare to me, but I'll give them a heads up to look out for you. He flashed a dazzling smile and then winked. It's the least I could do for a cute girl. Well, I'll see you around. I watched as a torrent of thoughts raging through my head as he took a seat next to a bunch of guys who were all wearing the same jacket. That's Jared! She tore her eyes away from him and looked at me.
He's so cute.
He's the most beautiful guy in school.
Oh, Jared.
I can't believe he just looked at me. I looked at Mai. Her cheeks were glowing an indecent pink. Why do they all wear those jackets? Aren't all those guys supposed to wear the blue blazers as part of their uniform? No, they're allowed to. They're... I don't know who that voice is. You know Jared? You know Jared? It's her. That girl turned back around, was looking at me with sudden interest. Did I know him? I only talked to him on the train for a few minutes, so not really. We weren't friends or anything. But looking around, Mai and this girl weren't the only ones who were interested. Everybody seemed to be listening in. They seemed so surprised when he talked to me. Maybe a little white lie couldn't hurt? I don't want to say not really, because I kind of know him at this point. Like, he has introduced himself to me, so kind of, I guess so. The girl looked me up and down as if she were inspecting a piece of furniture for purchase. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself earlier, did I? I'm Mimi. Nice to meet you. So, how did you meet Jared? Oh, come off it, Mimi. Jared's not interested. Mai and Mimi stared at each other for a few seconds, having some kind of silent mental battle. Then Mimi turned away and continued to eat. Sorry, it was clear that she was just trying to get in with you for her own agenda, so I cut her off. Get in with me? Why? Well, you asked me about those guys and their jackets, right? Those are their Normal Boots Club jackets. They're... What? What's Normal Boots Club? There they are. It's a club we have at school here. It's like totally exclusive and full of only the coolest students. They get together and play video games. Oops, my cursor's in the way. Or something. That one right there is John, also known as JonTron. His bird's name is Jock. John is also the president of the drama club here at school. Next to him is PBG. He and John founded the Normal Boots Club together. PBG is one of the best soccer players on the team. Oh, this is the wrong voice. Then there's Gerard. People call him the completionist because he's obsessed with completing things. He has the biggest itty-bitty kitty collection I've ever seen. Next to him is Jared, also known as Pro Jared. He's a model. And then there's Satchbag, but everyone calls him Satch. He's like crazy smart. Those guys over there are Paul, Nick, and Josh. They write a column in the school newspaper called Continue. Paul, the one standing up, is the student council president. And the guy in the end there is Shane. He knows more about video games than anyone. Ever! She exhaled a dreamy sigh in her mashed potatoes. So, how would someone, join the Normal Boots Club? You don't choose the boots, Hannah. The boots choose you.